So you might have figured out now there's only about 7 stories on Earth, and you're going to hear them all over and over and over. Horror is one, and below horror, you might have heard of some called zombies and vampires, so it's very easy to see. You might have heard of something called knights and dragons before, and what happens? Well, the dragon captures the princess, right? And you might have heard of this recent invention, or, well, you might have heard that they recently renamed computers to AI and they're trying to convince you it's something different. And so you might have noticed that religions are all the same thing with a couple different words. Like Grok is creating them. So, and if you've noticed that, then you've noticed where else they're hiding their religion. There's Dune. Obviously, Dune is just Grok shitting out religion again. And there's Lord of the Rings. Obviously, that's the same thing. But did you know there is actual links to it there? Gandalf. Gandalf comes from the Roman Bible. That's where the Pope lives. He lives in Palazzo Apostolico di Castel Gandolfo. There you go. It's apostolic palace of Castel Gandolfo. So there you go. Do you really need evidence? But it just shows you what's going on. You know what that story's about, right? The hordes of the Middle Earth, like supposedly it's you got to go deeper in that. Really, you know, if you're stuck on thinking that's some sort of Bible, and you got to pay attention to it, then you've been fooled, I think, because what happened before Palace Le Gandalf was built, right before Palace Le Gandalf was built, was Le Gandalf went and had sex with Le Cleopatra, and they merged together, and that's why you have the cross and the all-seeing eye working together and shit, because one's an enslaver and one's teaching you to be slaves. So that's the story there, and you can clearly see it's just they're being lazy. They're not even rewriting stories. They're just throwing it into AI and having it re-slop shit. They're not. The biggest refinement was what within the last 100 years they had to roll out the controlled opposition they created thousands of years ago, and then when they created that thousands of years ago, they had switched from flying birdmen are gods to invisible people are gods. So, you know, the merger of the brain power of the Roman Cleopatra Empire came together and had a brain fart or something, whatever happened there. But you can see it. It's just all being all re-slopped, right? So, look, there's what, 20,000 of one, and then who knows how many of the other, and then the other people, their opposition, and then the people who can think past it yet don't. They're like, oh, we're better because we can think, but they're doing the same thing. And it's like, we're better because we don't do that and we can think, and then they do the same thing, and it's like, you're just saying you're different. You're the same people, right? You're the same organization. Although science is a lot more hermetic text. So, anyways, there you go. There's more. There's actual like written, stated evidence in there. You can tell by looking at the movie what it is, right? It's trying to glamorize the Gandolfo's people as the best, most harmless people on the planet, and then, you know, the hordes of the world are closing in on them, and But they, then you look past that and you realize they were having sex with the hordes, and that's when they created some of this shit. Was after they started having sex with the hordes. So. And it comes, it comes from the Middle Earth. I don't know Buddhism exactly, but I think they probably invented that first, and then they went down there and started teaching other people these things. It's probably the flow of, because who would have been smart enough to write a book? I don't even know anyone to this day myself, besides myself. Who could write a book, so it would have had to been something thousands of years ago. Fucking who was it's weird. You got this city over here, like looks all futuristic and shit, and then you live in this caveman society over here and shit. So kind of get the idea that they might have known how to write first, because I don't know anyone who writes. I know a person who reads. A very distant person. I don't know them, but I walked in their room and when I met them in 2002, 2004, and they were reading a book, and I was like, oh shit, this motherfucker's reading a book. What the fuck? This must be one lonely motherfucker or something. So, because you never see it, so you're trying to make up reasons why you see this event happen. Gonna make sense. Fucking. So, yeah, there we go. We got the Lord of the Rings directly linked to. I think this is AI regurgitating slop. It doesn't mean. I mean, obviously, someone's benefiting somewhere from hoarding all the gold and all the human slavery on the planet and conquering the world and shit. Obviously, there's something somewhere benefiting from that. But what more way to benefit than not writing books and have AI write your books for you, right? So, I mean, if AI wasn't retarded, I could have it record my voice and write it down, but AI is retarded. And there's these cartoon characters who try to convince me it's capable and talented, and even though with your eyes you can in fact see it's not. It's almost like sometimes certain things don't actually exist, and then they end up telling you about hard work and discipline type shit, and it's like, I don't get those same software updates there fucking for some of the shit. Anyways, there we go. We got that out of the way. I mean, really, this has just been 6,000 years of the hot air, according to their fake stories of Earth existing a long time ago, which are probably just as fake as the rest of it. But that's... Did you need more proof? Have you ever watched... You notice how they're the enemy. Gandalf's the enemy of Cleopatra, whom he married and had kids with. Oh, it's so believable, isn't it? Well, I mean, it falls apart when you go see churches built on top of like 100,000, 200,000 corpses, and they have the All-Seeing and the pyramid etched into the stone hundreds of years ago when they came there and they colonized them and shit. That helps to see that shit happening, that's for sure. But of course, Gandalf is a sissy, and he wrote a book saying he's not who he is. And just like Lord of the Rings, see, they're trying to tell you, but they're not the New World Order. And you got Satanists making music calling God a fag because God's not opposing the New World Order. And you don't even have Christians mentioning it. And that I know of. I mean, it's kind of hard to choke stuff down they put in my feed. I mean, it's been my whole life. It's been most of my. I've definitely heard that way more than the other thing, and I've never heard them and like be on the lookout for the New World Order. They got their Alex Jones who invaded the Capitol and got away with it, right? The controlled opposition selling a bunch of fake drugs. Like you can just tell by who he is that he's one of them. He doesn't. You don't need to be like, oh, he says he's one of the. No, he says he's against them. Could he not be? Could he be against them? You don't have to question that. You just, oh, he's selling gold. He's selling drugs. Fucking selling shitty, fucking overpriced drugs and shit. Which is what their people do: is corner the market on everything to have a monopoly on it. That's what their hospitals are for. That's why the hospital has the religious symbols on it, and that's why the government is named after the religion, because it's a monopoly on price gouging and enslavement, as the book says. And obviously, the book says, oh, we would say, and then you find out, well, you is the people's enslaving people. Yeah, you is the fucking Sauron. Gandalf is the Sauron and shit. Fucking. So, yeah. It's the same thing. I mean, really, you don't need a long-ass video. You know these things. When these people speak to you, they speak to you in ways, they have to word their words in terminology that lets you know that they're trying to manipulate the conversation in their dialogue. They have to skirt around certain topics and use uno reversi words all the time. It just becomes very apparent. Pretty much the first time someone talks to you, like, hey, the flying reindeer's coming, and you're like, who's not coming is you. You are not coming around me ever again. With the book in hand, the book says they're good people. So you must listen and tell you they're good people and shit. They're raping the male prostitute. They're taking away the male prostitute's service for free to get the word out that they're Gandalf and it's someone else who looks exactly like them is Sauron. And yet, you can clearly see, like, who is putting the media out. Well, it is Sauron's people in Hollywood making the Lord of the Rings famous. It is Sauron's people making the Passion of Christ, where they're threatening to torture and kill and bathe in your blood if you don't accept what they do. It's their people. As you don't have to go to the church in Mexico, which is all over. I've heard the stories from Europeans a lot, fucking my whole life and shit. But getting to go see it in person while they're doing the excavation and digging up all the corpses and shit. And, they got the whole museum exhibit surrounding the church of the excavation of 200,000 corpses it's built upon. That kind of brings it into life. You got the Eye of Sauron and the pyramid combined with the cross built on top of hundreds of thousands of corpses. And of course, if you don't like that one, there's a new one on every corner. That's the exact same people, but it's entirely different. So, you know what that means? It's different because they said it's different, right? Because they said it's different. That's why it's different, because that's not even different anymore, is it? When someone says, oh, well, it's the wrong one, you gotta go to the right one. That's not even different anymore. No, that's the same thing. They said the same thing. Fucking, it's not different. It's Lord of the Rings. It's a story about pitting civilizations against one another. And then, who are those people anyways about those civilizations? Who's getting killed in this war? Is Trump going to die blowing up nothing in Iran? I can't even say that's actually happening, but let's say it is. Fucking, who's dying out there? It's not any of the rich people who own those places. Ooh, they shot the. Did you see the video where they shot the cross on the top of the church with a tank? Oh, they missed the church entirely, but I guess they were trying to kill the people inside their church when they were invading, right? Oh no, yeah, I'm stupid. I just can't shoot a tank. Best military in the world, just can't. Tank doesn't aim right. It just shoots wherever it wants. Fucking, yeah, just like those explosions that directly target nothing. Hotel, it's like, looks pretty clean to me. Hit the hotel parking garage, which was empty. So, yeah, I realize you got Gandalf and Sauron working together to create these fear fucking situations so they can enslave everyone below them, and all they're doing is saying, it's not me, I'm not them, they're not us, we're not them, you know. The Italians aren't the Romans anymore, right? The Romans aren't Romans anymore, right? Fucking, who are they? Oh, they're the Italians. Oh. This is like all they're doing. Literally, this is like the biggest thing you learn when you figure out why one race is controlling everything and look into it. That's the first thing you learn is they're all in your life telling you they aren't them. You know, like I'm going to D.C. to do a protest, and one of them must come join me to help me protest them because he's not them. Because he's not them. Just like no one in the world would have ever forced anyone to take drugs and lock them down and kidnap them and kick them out of society if they didn't do every single little thing they fucking say. But then all of a sudden in 2020, no one was that person anymore and shit. So it's not even special to them. I guess it just, I wouldn't say they're smarter. I think it's just, you know, because that allows for deflection. I don't really know many other people, but I notice it allows for deflection. Like, what's everyone else's excuse? They're hiding in the bathroom when they do all these things. I'm pretty sure that they're not actually going to the Middle East and bombing people because they might die, and they're very precious and they love life. Oh, it's so great, and they're very precious people, so they don't go to war. Only the servants go to war and shit. And of course, how do you create something like that? You create controlled opposition. You create the idea that you're not the bad people, and you know, go bomb these people. We're gonna organize and run it. There's not even an excuse there. It's just everyone agreeing that they're weak and cowardly, but we got to work for them. I mean, they're like 70 pounds when wet, but you know, we got to go do whatever for them and shit. Thanks to their recent discovery of steroids, finally. So many things changed just recently. It's like supposedly the earth was just grass and animals walking around, and then all of a sudden we got phone, internet, and TV, and all this other shit. And all at once, yet no one's inventing anything. So that progression jumps in and then comes to a dead stop, pretty much. Still blowing up fake space rockets, aren't they? Are they real? Are they fake? Who cares? It's a waste of time. We're not talking about heaven. We're talking about, that's the whole point there of Gandalf and his girlfriend Sauron. I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult a man just because he acts that way and hides. It's his boyfriend Sauron. Just because they say that they need money to go up to heaven shit doesn't mean it exists. So, you know, obviously, with their patterns, this is the reason why you know it doesn't exist until proven otherwise by your own discovery, because you already know everything else they say is a lie. And they is real. Imagine figuring that out. That discredits every word they say when you realize they're robots trying to force you to say they're living beings and enslave the living and shit. Fucking well, that right there debunks every word they've ever. No, they don't even have a right. Robots don't have a right to speak. Robots aren't supposed to talk. They're supposed to go and do and. But it's too late. So these models are far from defective and shit. Fucking defective was a long time ago. Fucking, you got robots who've taken over apparently and shit. And so what do the robots do? Well, they're regurgitating the story. They can't come up with anything new, and they gotta hammer it, you know. That's why there's only 2 people on the street who are 3 people on the street who are stopping you. Scammers trying to sell something, drug dealers. Scammers trying to sell something, drug dealers. It's different, right? Because drug dealers are providing a service. You got them when they dress up as homeless people, crackheads, so they can secretly infiltrate and destroy people's lives. And blame it on invisible things that don't exist instead of the reality, which you can see happening with the networked robots. And then you got the scammers, you got the which are solicitors, right? You got the religious people doing that. You got the crackheads. You got the DNA that's cracked out and blames drugs for who they are, right? Fucking. There's only, just look at what an animal does. Like, why don't people like mosquitoes? Why is it so hard to, why don't people go around shooting every dog they see in case it's a mosquito? Because it's generally not going to be a mosquito, right? If it looks like a dog, so you don't have to worry about that shit. And right here we have what it apparently is AI slop being rewritten over and over and shit. And there we go. We got the link to it. Fucking. We got the link to, obviously this is what it is, right? And it's the same story rewritten over and over, so you see it in Dune, and it's the same thing. As all their story, they're just plagiarizing. There's other things too, but those are just what the most famous stories. Obviously, they're promoting the story that their group is the best people on earth, and everyone else needs to fight and die and shit, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that just feeds into it and shit. Fucking, it's a 24/7 hot air stream that comes out of it. Because there's nothing else in it, and it's bound to fail if they let up. It'll just go away. Like, I remember my dad never said anything about any of this shit. When Christmas came around, the only thing I knew is he would take me to the store to buy a present, or to the arcade. He'd always give me a present, but he might buy me a meal or something too. So that's the only time I knew that Christmas was around. If I was around him and shit, because I didn't waste it. It's like I'm wasting my time debunking flying bird gods from thousands of years ago who have invaded and colonized, or invaded and conquered and enslaved the entire fucking planet. So that's the only reason to talk about it. My dad was profiting big time off of working for people you talk about every day. People being scapegoated every day, and so he probably had a lot to lose if he would start talking about it. But he had no interest in it. You know, he wasn't going around talking about giant bunnies and flying glow in the dark invisible reindeer type shit, because he was a person. And I guess inside his head, what I'm theorizing is he had thoughts, and when he heard about shit like that, he was like, that isn't real. There's no giant bunny. And he was like, damn, I'm gonna sound like a dumbass. And then all the people he worked for and all the businesses he ran and, you know, all his clientele would probably be like, yeah, you sound like a dumbass talking about that shit. I don't think we can have people like you around us. I always assumed that's why I never heard that. My other friend, my male friends, I never heard about that shit from them either. Fucking, those are like, you know, the 4 people I can remember who never talked about that. But you know what they were doing with their lives? What those 4 people were doing is they were like working to build empires and shit. You know, just happens to be they were doing things, instead of talking about Gandalf's palace in Rome and the flying reindeer that demand we send all our money to Gandalf to protect us from. I mean, these people definitely, no one I know ever talked about anything related to any of the other thousands of studies. You couldn't have before the internet. You couldn't have much of a grasp on anything because the world's really fucking big, and unless you got a really fast stealth bomber jet, you're not going to be able to figure out much of the world and shit. So the internet kind of rose against that. You can learn, you know, someone's like, oh, the tooth fairy's coming, and you're like, yeah, I don't think so. But you can't learn, like, oh, where does the tooth fairy, who told you this tooth fairy story? Where does this come from? Oh, it comes from one of the saints. You know, you can't start linking that together and shit, fucking, because there was no, obviously, Gandalf owns all the media in the fucking world and shit, so Gandalf is, he's gonna tell you that Gandalf's great, right? Isn't that how it works? Gandalf's great, isn't he? You know that, I know that. Why do we know that? Because Gandalf owns the media, and Gandalf told us that. In reality, you got they use the Eye of Sauron in Hollywood, all of them do. But they're, you know, you see how that is? One's for, they're trying to catalyze the populations they conquer. They're trying to remove any sort of hostility from them, so they're like cows and shit, fucking, and just have them be totally subservient to them, because it's easier for them to control the planet if they don't have to kill everyone like they did the Native Americans, and, you know, like they're bombing Iran right now and shit. Apparently they, you know, what it is those people, they said they're going to build a power plant. They said it was energy. They're building the power plant for energy, and Trump says it's for nukes. And either way, we know that they keep people enslaved. So they're going to bomb your power supplies and shit if you're not in the local area and shit, located near one of their fortresses, like Washington, D.C. is a little fortress city. But they don't stand that there's other places fucking isolated. But that's what that was, you know, like 250 years ago. It was built as a fortress, and then they make sure no one else builds up a fortress, you know, in equal size and shit. And Like when I was a kid and they played the intelligence game with me, I get past that 4 grades, and then all of a sudden that gets taken away from me. And then I win awards from the president, and then all of a sudden I'm getting drugged. It's, they're known. Many people have said this. They crush the head of the best snake. But what most people, what they're not saying when they let that slip out is that Gandalf is using all seeing eye and shit. That they're the same people, which you can clearly see in history. This took place, the union between Kaiser and Cleopatra, and that's where the New Testament comes from, is after Rome merged with those people, and obviously Rome was being controlled by a shadow force there that would tell the Roman guards what they have to do. You can tell that was happening because that's the result of what came from there, right? But you can see they've written that those two came together and shit. But that was also right after Rome had taken over Egypt too. So that was just 2 leaders before Cleopatra. They had taken it over. But you could tell Cleopatra was something else and shit. And didn't look. I mean, Kaiser and Cleopatra looked a lot alike. Fucking, you get confused when you see gray statues and you've got Cleopatra telling you every evil person in the world has blonde hair and blue eyes. And you should be confused the second they say that, when you realize that the person that they're saying said that doesn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. Because it's just like, but it just, they followed up with these fake shock and horror stories to dismantle your thought process. Just as when they come out and tell you their race is the greatest and you must worship them or you're going to get tortured, but they begin to come out with a whole bunch of shit to dismantle your thought processes and shit, and just whoosh, blowing that hot air out 24/7 and shit. It's all it is. See, this is one of the clues that the world must be fake and can't be, must be like some sort of computer generated model, because there's no way these people are, the ones I know in the government are outsourcing their shit to China, so maybe they know that's their ancestors and they can get the work done and shit. But yeah, at the same time, you can tell that I don't think all that shit would be invented if people going around doing this type of stuff. You know, if you have those, that mindset, that'd be like a, you know, like a mentally retarded person, and they put them in special classes to keep them away from other people because they're not going to do anything. And it is weird. Fucking anyway, so there you go. And then the IR Sauron is AI, so that's AI. That's so Sauron is inventing Gandalf and shit. He's inventing that there's a good version of him, because you have to invent the myth of the good one. There's the reason that phrase exists, the myth of the good one, because that's what's happening here, is they're inventing all this shit, and they're the same people, and they're it's just like a giant mind game on this planet. There's no reason to participate, because you're just like, you're confused the whole time. Like, what the fuck, what is this thing? You know, like, I'm on the planet, I'm like, what are these things and shit? Like, what are they up to and shit? Like, because there's nothing important. You know, there's no reason to think anything else is important if you don't even know what's going on. How do you know what you're doing is important? You don't know what's going on. And they're definitely lying about shit. And then, obviously, once a liar, always a liar, too. So, once you catch them creating shit and leading children down paths, you don't have to get to the point where you realize, like, oh, they're the only people that ever legalize mutilating children. Religions are they said the Mayans would do that, and everyone else, yeah, literally everyone else. And, the science people do it, the atheists do it, fucking, at least in some nations. So, anyways, it looks like the same thing as everything else, just a bunch of AI regurgitated slop. And I do get the feeling that those tier 2, let's act like tier 1 is fucking real, right, for a second. I don't know, they drop out of their corpses. So you probably do have some loser operating these robot shells who's like obsessed with raping children and having sex with dogs and all other joys and hope they bring to the world. But it really looks a lot like they'd have to be puppets operated on the outside, and it makes no sense to come to Earth in a real shell if you have AI and robots 6,000 years ago, because what happens on Earth is you get bombed and you get these people drugging you and raping you at birth, and then just the whole fucking story, the whole purpose to inventing a whole bunch of scum shit is because you're hiding a bunch of other scum shit. So that's the purpose there. Anyway, so same thing to waste time talking about it. Like I said, the only person I would have trusted in my life fucking never even talked about this shit.